Hi, I'm Cosplay Michael with the Hangin with Web Show, and you're listening to Krypton Radio. And remember, cosplay's for everyone.
I never had much faith in love or miracles. I never wanna put my heart on the line. But swimming in your water, something spiritual. I'm born again every time you spend the night. Sex takes me to paradise. Yeah, your sex takes me to paradise. And go.
Please do not change channel.
From Krypton Radio, brought to you by Famous Faces and Funnies and Off the Chain with Yvonne Mason, it's the Hanging with Web Show Radio Hour, the Internet's premier pop culture talk radio show. You're tuned in, you're logged on, and now your hosts, gw-pomichter and Christian Basel. Who are you hanging with?
All right, hello, Krypton Radio, and everyone here in the live audience. I'm gw-pomichter.
I'm Christian Basel. Welcome aboard for another wonderful episode and a live episode.
Yeah, with an audience.
With an audience.
Those guys.
Somebody told me to put the international sign for L for live on radio on my up my forehead like that.
It is. That was
Charles knows the language.
I did. Charles. We're here. We're hanging with Charles Watson from the Florida Con Artist and from YouTube's brand new show Dishes and Stitches, which you can find at their brand new URL. You can go to YouTube/user/Dishes and Stitches.
Correct.
Or you can just search Dishes and Stitches.
Yes.
Which is just as good. They don't find it.
It should.
It should.
Yeah.
It should.
That's what they tell me.
Yeah. And we're talking today about podcasting. And we're podcasting it. It's like very meta.
It's like Podception.
That's right. Yes, that's right. We're like, it's like a very deep show. Sage is laughing over there behind the control room. I don't know. Is that a good thing?
It is.
It is?
She's laughing with
If you
her.
don't know this or not, Sage laughs at everything we do. 100%.
All right, well, you know what? This show is about podcasting. It's about what we do and how we do it and why we do it. I don't know about the why we do it part. I think that's just crazy. Because we're a little bit crazy.
I like to torture myself.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's, so...
Isn't that what Tia's for? So you don't have to do it yourself?
That, not me. That's on me.
There will be a short intermission.
Followed by screaming and blood hitting the walls. But you won't see this part of the live
That's
show.
right. It's a convention, which means no one will notice the blood for days.
Yeah.
They're just like, he's cosplaying really cool. It looks like he's dead.
Dude, they had a Halloween party in here.
So, first of all, we'll remind everybody who we are. We're the Hangin with Web Show. And we're hanging with Charles Watson from Dishes and Stitches. And Christian, podcasts with everybody. If there's a podcast on the internet and you don't hear Christian's voice...
I've been on a few.
You're not on the
I've
right
appeared on a few.
You're not on the right internet.
Just a couple.
Yeah. He's been on a couple. So we're going to start with some of the, just like podcasting 101. And we brought in here, we brought different mics into the panel room with us. Because this is designed to show you all that you don't have to have, you don't have to go to Amazon and spend a lot of money. Honestly, because we do a video show, I have a camera rig that doubled as a tripod today. Okay?
To find a lot of money.
$10.
There we go. And that's just the shipping.
He's a rich podcaster. No, you don't have to have a lot of money. You know what? These are shotgun mics from my camera. They are mounted onto different things. This was made. I had one of those wonderful the LED outside lights that you work under, for your car. And this came with it as a under the car mount. I painted it black and put the mount on it. There you go. And then that's a new Yeti. Because
he's a show off.
He is. He's showing off.
Yeah.
He just wants to, you want everybody.
Found it at a garage sale.
Did you really?
No, I didn't.
No, it's true though. I mean, you bring up a good point.
That was Charles's garage, and nothing was for sale. Wait a minute. So
if they're selling this at a garage sale, they don't know what the hell they're doing.
No, I was at another. I was at another podcasting panel. And somebody recommended not necessarily yard sales, but if you go to pawn shops, at least if you get a mixer or something, and you can make off.
It's a hit or miss with those.
We're running the mixer here for all of the mics that off of Amazon for $100.
You can make off sad musicians' failed dreams at a pawn shop and get their equipment and do your podcast.
Yes, you should never profit off of the failures of others unless you're a podcaster, and then.
Isn't that the definition of a podcaster?
Another
the failure
man's
of others?
shattered dreams are our hopes.
Our hopes.
That's right. Yeah. So, and get started. We started the Hangin with Web show quite literally with my phone.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. I think people have a misconception that you need all this equipment, but we started our channel with our phones.
Yeah, learn your craft. It's one of the things that we tell our artists. We do an interview talk show series. If you're out there listening right now on Spreaker, I hope you already know that. If you're on iTunes listening, please know that a lot. In fact, just re-download this 373 times. It helps our ranking go up. We started the show with my phone. I wanted to interview other artists, other creative minds, and I pulled out my phone and yelled at my phone across the room, and I interviewed people. And then, as you go along, learn your craft. So learn the hard way that as a filmmaker doing a video show, the bane of a filmmaker's existence is sound, capturing clean audio. I learned that the hard way while I yelled at my phone across the room, and it turned out no one could hear me. And I would get the nice little messages, because people on YouTube are so kind.
They are.
And thoughtful and helpful.
It's real positive.
And they did. They
Where's the sound, dummy?
Yeah. Turn on the sound, dummy. Get a mic. Okay. So we did, and we built up from there, and we welcome any of our live audience to come on out front. We're going to interview artists, authors, filmmakers, creative minds all weekend long, right up front in the alcove right past the Florida Count Artists. And Christian?
No one claims him. He's his own.
Oh, thanks.
And we're going to be doing interviews all weekend long. Come on by and see from my phone to a film set. In no time at all. It only took 973 days, 4 hours, 17 seconds, 18 seconds, and you build, you learn your craft as you go. And so the best advice, what advice would you just really dove in?
I mean, our channel is 10 weeks old, but we have kind of a unique situation because we run a cosplay community, Florida Con Artists, that's been around for 4 years. We have a following, but I was really intimidated at first. Tia is the one that was into YouTube, and I kind of dismissed it, but
it's a video channel. Tia is the one that belongs into YouTube.
Yeah, and so I think we that's terrible. I should pay more attention to this. Write that down.
Keep going.
No. You got it. No.
Remember, this is all live, so it's cool now. It's out there.
The most intimidating part of Tia says, "Hey, let's do this YouTube thing. Let's start podcasting." What was the most intimidating thing to you?
The fear of opening yourself up to public ridicule, I think was a fear. Mm-hmm. But I think once I realized that there was people that wanted to hear our message and that we could actually help people, then I think that the fear of being ridiculed went away, because it's like, if we can reach one person with our message, if somebody can reach out to me and be like, hey, I really appreciate that. And we've been validated since we started with people doing that. But I think that trumped the fear of ridicule. Yeah. The hardest thing to do is to start. Like, that's the hardest.
Oh, yeah.
It's like to just start. And so you always come up with an excuse why you can't. Like, I don't have a microphone. I don't have a Yeti. I can't. I can't be a video because I don't have $1,000 camera and stuff like that. But
I don't feel pretty.
It's
true.
It's true.
When you're going to stand on camera,
I have an absolute body for radio. So
I mean, but you're
and a voice for silent films.
A lot of people share that, though.
I hate you.
And I think the important thing is just to start. I mean, I promise you, if you're good at something and you possess a skill that no one else does. I know that hands down, because everyone has different experiences. No one life is the same. So you possess skills and you have a story that no one else has. You have a unique perspective on life and you have a unique story to tell. And I promise you, out of the billions of people that are on this planet, there are people that want to hear that story.
Absolutely.
That story matters to someone. And I think once you realize that, it squashes the fear. You know what I mean? And then you do it, you realize that, I know YouTube is like the land of trolls and like there's a lot of criticism, but there is positive people out there.
And you know what? Honestly, and I'll say this because there is a lot of negativity on the internet, whether it's Twitter or YouTube or Facebook. However, I will say, I've learned some of the most valuable lessons in media from people who hate me instantaneously from that troll, because while they are cruel and not very articulate, they are also they take the time to think of their criticism, and
some of them,
and so even though they may be more harsh than they need to be, when I read those things, and the first time I think I read, wow, you guys really suck, and I was like,
yeah, that's tough.
It really is.
No, it really
tough.
is. That's tough.
It hit hard.
Well, you're putting your soul and body into this thing.
But I looked at it and I went, okay, well, I wonder
vulnerable.
why. I wonder why. And the answer is there probably isn't a reason why, because they're just spoken out there. But you learn to look inward and say, okay, why does this person feel that way? So maybe it's the sound. Maybe I need better mics. Maybe it's the video. Maybe I need a better camera. Maybe my jokes aren't funny. That is probably it, really. But this is. I would take and then I'd go home and I'd write more, and I'd say, okay, I'll write better lines, better openings, better closings. I'll have better questions for my guests that come on the show and try to make it more interesting. Because nobody wants to see another Tonight Show interview. It turns out there are guys making millions of dollars to do that way better than me. So you have to be more creative. And I would go and I'd dive into it and become more creative. And then that guy disappeared, and people who liked the show would come on, and those three guys are still here. Yeah. So, that's the way it works. You learn your craft. And that is probably the single thing. I think we tell that to every artist. I think you probably tell it to cosplayers all the time.
I think
you dive into this, learn your craft.
But there's two things about the haters, and there's actually what you can say is we learn from the haters. So first of all, first thing is if you get the haters that express what they think about you, you take it and leave it for what it's worth. Mm-hmm. I will read those comments. And there might be something I'm not overlooking, and they heard it. That's not an actual hater, but somebody who has a fair criticism. Hey, this sound sucks. Right. You guys really aren't that well. Or, you take it for what it's worth. There's information in there. Mm-hmm. Now, and the other thing about haters, too, is that, if you got somebody who says, well, you suck, I've been told by a friend, and I used to take it down when I would read stuff like that, you suck. You can say, you take the criticism for what it's worth. You either learn from it or you go and say to yourself, we've made it. When they start to criticize you.
I always love it because I figure there are
if you got haters, that's when you've made it.
Well, there are 7 billion people on the planet. Yeah. And it does shock most people to learn that they don't all like you. Yeah. I mean, when you first turn on the camera and you first turn on the microphone, the very first thing that goes through your mind is, they're going to love me. And then like 3 of them don't, and you're like, "Oh my God!" And but it's not. It's not the end of the world. You get up and you like as Christian said, find in the criticism the thing that you can do better. And if there's nothing there, then learn to grow a thicker skin. You are now in the media.
Let me take something from a little bit, because one of the things that's harder about podcasts is that, again, anybody can do it. Somebody can grab a phone. I'm a podcaster. And in some cases, you really don't need that much money to do it. So how do you become a podcaster against a billion other podcasters? There's a podcaster for Star Trek, Star Wars, Doctor Who, The Walking Dead, all that. But if you don't have a formula for yourself that people can pick up and convey, you're just going to drown into a bunch of podcasts. So you actually have to physically think, what makes this podcast different from the others that people will latch onto and say, hey, this is cool. People need to listen to this. Not only myself, but I want to share this. This is a cool thing.
That's a great point. I want to add on to that, because this is great, and this is good for people that might not have a niche or not know anything like that. And I've learned your target audience is probably you a couple years ago. Like when you were first getting into whatever it is you're getting into, whether it was Star Trek or whether it was cosplay or something like that, it's your niche, but about 5 to 6 years ago when you were first getting into what you are an expert at right now. And that's a good way to narrow your audience and kind of target who you want to target and who you want to reach. There's a saying, if you try to reach everyone, you reach no one. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you want to be really specific with your message and not make it too broad. I promise you, whatever it is, whatever you're into glowworms, you're into fireflies, you're into
You're giving up your whole Saturday night right now.
Yeah, but there's somebody out there that wants to hear that story, and I think that's a great way.
And he's listening right now.
and the other thing I want to tell you guys is that your first video, your first podcast, your first cosplay, it's going to be terrible, but it is. You're not an you know what I mean? Like, you're not an expert. You don't start out an expert. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Your first video is always your worst video. Your first podcast is always your worst podcast. Your first cosplay is always your worst cosplay. But you take that and you learn and you take the criticism and you make adjustments and you listen to what other people say and you add on to it, and as you grow, you get better. And don't ever take the old video down. Don't take the video down. And
let it remind you.
Don't delete the podcast, and don't delete the picture. Leave it there. Leave it there, because 5 years from now, 6 years from now, you can go back and you can see how much you've grown as a creator, as an artist, as a cosplayer. you got to be brave.
This is
but do it, man. There's tons of people that do it. Do it.
It is.
If they can do it, you guys can do it. And that's what I thought. That's why I got into it. Because I was like, what the hell, man? If these guys are, making money off of YouTube and this guy's doing it full time and this guy's doing this, I got a message to tell. If this guy can do it, I can do it too. I put my pants on one leg at a time, just like these other people. There's nothing different. The only thing they got on me is the years of experience. But as long as you're willing to put in the work, you catch them.
Yeah, I think doing this is like any other expertise in life. The only way you build an expertise or a knowledge base is by doing it and by screwing it up and doing it again.
That's how you learn.
And over again. And we did an interview with a young musician. We met downtown at a local venue. We interviewed her. It was wonderful. It was fantastic. She did a song for us. It was like being on the Tonight Show. I was like, this is awesome. This is amazing. And then I went back to my camera and found out that our audio mixer wasn't plugged in, so it was a silent film. I had so much fun. She had so much fun. It was just a great time. And I said, can we do that again? Because you learn, you get things become muscle memory. You start doing them over and over and over again.
I laugh because that happened to me too. Like I recorded the same video 4 times. Yeah, because the mic was off, or I didn't hit record. I did the whole damn thing, not even hit the record button.
And Tia's nodding like a bobblehead right on the audience going,
we have a thing we do. We come to conventions, we have a thing that we do where we try to find our more high-profile guests at various conventions, and to build my opening credit sequence every year that changes, I try to get high-profile guests and some cosplayers or whatever to do, who are you hanging with, or look who we're hanging with, or some line. We went to San Diego Comic-Con 2 years ago, and we're walking around. We've got the cameras, and anybody familiar with Markiplier, the YouTuber? Okay. Mark was there. He had a massive booth at San Diego Comic-Con, and Cosplay Michael, little Cosplay Michael that's running around here somewhere, was our draw to San Diego Comic-Con. And he saw Mark and he went crazy. He was like, oh my God, Markiplier's here. And I looked at the girls and I'm like, he is, at this time, he had just become the #1 highest paid YouTuber in the world. And it was really cool. And I said, this guy is something. I want him saying, look who I'm hanging with. Standing next to our team and with Cosplay Michael, and that'll be awesome.
Yeah, of course.
And so we went up and we got the clip, and she wasn't sure she got it, so she's like, "Can we do it one more time?" And he leaned over and he's hugging Michael and he says, "Look who I'm hanging with." And we got back to the hotel room, we uploaded everything, and the mic wasn't plugged in. I did it twice, and the mic wasn't plugged in. So make your mistakes. And do it, and because I laugh about that now. That day I wasn't laughing. I think I used more colorful language than I had in a lot. I was like, really?
I'll raise your story just a little bit. Anybody familiar with Red Dwarf? A gentleman by the name of Norman Lovett who plays Holly the Head on there.
That's not really raising the story. Nobody knows who that is.
Well,
I know who it is.
There you go. I know there's always one out there.
We'll give the audience a point for the save.
Yeah.
Good job.
I'm sorry I didn't raise my hand.
Leave it to the Navy.
I thought there was
I haven't even finished the story and you're already taking it down.
So raise the stakes. Let me talk about something nobody knew.
Like 10 years.
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
So anyway, we're on a live show. Anyway,
Which
Norman,
is the best time to humiliate Christian.
Luckily, they can't see what's going to happen next. But Norman was on there, and he said he would do the show. I was on another podcast. He would do the show for like 40 minutes, and we were enjoying ourselves so well. He literally ran 2 hours, and it was all of us talking about Red Dwarf, his past, his comedy, everything. It was probably one of the most best unrecorded episodes we ever had. And 3 of us had recorders going, and all 3 of our recorders all failed. And we called him back and say, Norman, can you come back? I mean, we were just like hands and knees begging Norman to come back. And we actually had Danny John Jules from the same show. And unfortunately, Norman not unfortunately, but he came back on the show, but he had a cold, a very bad cold. And he had to excuse himself halfway through it because he wasn't feeling well. But I meant that episode we will never get. Nobody will ever hear. And it was the most painful thing to think about because it was one of those what could have been moments. It was beautiful, and Yeah, but you learn from it. You kick yourself.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's
and you just want to take the car and go out there and let it run you over a couple of times because you're never going to have this moment again. But you learn.
Yeah, and that's the point. To do anything in the media. My background is in journalism. I went to school for journalism. I wrote for the Hometown News here in Brevard County for 5 years. I penned over 500 byline stories, not including work as a news clerk and the things that you have to do in the newsroom. And so whether I was writing the first stories that I've ever written professionally, where my English teachers in 7th grade were kinder than my editor, and I was being paid, probably why he was not so kind. Everything you do, you learn by doing and screwing it up and doing it again and again and again. And 500 stories later, I decided, I'm pretty good at this writing thing. I'm going to write a book. And I wrote my book, and I published it and made every mistake that every new author always makes, and learned from that. And now I'm on my 5th book, and this is of the Hangin with Web show family. This is our 4th show. This is our 2nd of 4 shows, I should say. We currently run 4 different shows. We have the video interview series that's very much like any other talk show series. It's a video series. I interview, they talk. If Christian is there, we get to pick on him. It's a lot of fun. And it's great.
Again with the picking. What is this?
Well, what's great is I get to bring new people on the show.
And then we pick on me. Yeah, exactly.
See?
Well, Christian, I saw you on other shows. They picked on you there too.
Yeah. It's sort of
no can count on you, Juan, to back me up, brother.
That's right. On IMDb, I think that's what we'll list. In the credits for Christian's role, instead of co-host, what we're going to put is guy who gets picked on.
Judas Goat.
Yeah, Christian Basel, guy who gets picked on.
People prod me all day,
and that'll be like his thing.
I'm add him to my video channel too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. It's just a nice place to. Yeah. Oh, you're doing cosplay stuff, man. That and healthy living stuff.
Yeah. So we Florida con artists for 4.5 years. We have a great community, and we've been able to meet a lot of people, and we've been really blessed. And one thing that we noticed, my significant other Tia and I have noticed, is that our community really.
As a cosplayer, he has a lot of fun saying "my significant other."
I do
in a sentence.
I do. It's nice.
It's getting gushy in here now.
But we noticed that the community needs help. Like our community is suffering. Our community has a lot of issues that need to be addressed that people tiptoe around and don't want to address, and that is high depression rates, a lot of body shaming and bullying, and also high suicide rates. I know 5 personal friends of mine that have taken their lives this year. Because of body shaming, bullying, and depression. So I thought enough was enough, and it was time to turn things around and offer people, just share with people, let them know that they're not alone. These are things that everyone deals with.
Well, I love, one of the things I love about watching the new show is between the how-tos, and product reviews and things. I watched an awesome makeup tutorial with Tia the other day. It was fantastic. Why I watched it, it's none of your business. So
you're getting pointers for your next Wonder Woman
outfit?
He's
looking, see? He's worried now.
He's worried. I'm worried. I don't know what you're doing on your spare time.
But you also, what I loved is one of the things that I think helps to spread that message of positivity is you share things like recipes and things in the kitchen. Because it's important that we all know that this is what we do, and it's what we love, but it's not the entirety of life. We have to. We cook our food. We get dressed in the morning. We go to our day jobs if we have those. So it's not the entirety of life. When you have a bad day, when you get the things happen to you, you go home and you cook a meal, hopefully a healthy meal. If they show you how to do it, it'll be a really healthy meal. You're must be on the best diet ever right now.
Yeah, well, I mean, my weight is a little. So the tagline for our channel is helping you make healthier decisions for a cosplay lifestyle, and so that includes mental health, physical health. You know what I mean, and just general like life health. So Tia is a vegetarian. And she has always expressed that she wanted me to kind of get my health under control so that I could stick around longer, which is nice. At least somebody wants me around longer.
It's valid.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 or 3 years.
You waited a long time to hear that.
Yeah.
Right?
We'll take you off the planet.
There was that moment.
Yeah.
There's always, the special woman in your life. And, first it's mom, and she says, get out.
Yes. Yeah.
And then you spend time searching.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so so that's what we do. So we do healthy recipes, and not like drastic diets or anything, but like little decisions that you can make here and there to improve your health, like over time. And we do cosplay tips and tricks, like how to get started and stuff. And
well, you've got to be you have to get in shape anyway, because you're working that huge 3D Iron Man suit.
Yeah,
and that's going to be hot.
It's hot and heavy. Yes. Yeah. It's at home today.
Yeah, you're going to have.
I smiled when you said hot and heavy, so
yeah,
that's for other reasons.
So I mean, that's it.
It's the internet. They all know the other reasons.
It's been good. We're having fun.
It's great,
and I think that's the.
I love the show.
I've
been watching. I love it. I love it. It's really a lot of fun. You can catch Dishes and Stitches on YouTube. You can also catch Dishes and Stitches on another YouTube channel, because one of the other endeavors that the Hangin with Web Show is embarked on is the ICN, the Independent Creators Network. And our goal is to build a channel, a real live channel, like on a cable channel or anything else, that's not dedicated to a single show, but dedicated to multiple shows. And so Dishes and Stitches, the Hangin with Web Show, and several others are already playing on the ICN network. So we hope you check that one out too. That one's got like 6 subscribers. I don't know. We just started, and we're having a lot of fun finding content for it so we can distribute it. But that's a lot of fun. And then we do it every weekday between 9 and 10 a.m. We release a new episode of the Interview Talk series. Every week on Krypton Radio, we do this radio show, the Hangin with Web Show Radio Hour, where we have some celebrity guests come in, but we just talk about our adventures in the con circuit and the cosplayers we've met and the people we've got to hang out with and some of the cool stories that come from conventions, which is why we're all here. Because, you'll leave here at the end of this weekend and you'll have really cool stories to tell everybody at work. And they'll be like, where did you go this weekend? And you'll be like, I went to a convention. And they're like, oh, one of those. And you're like, yeah, you have no idea. And and you won't, because we didn't film it.
Hot and heavy. I
have a question. He's stuck there.
I have a question.
We need to get him a girlfriend.
Or a cat. Something.
A cat.
Yeah, something.
I got both. Anyway, I got a question for you. I got a question for you.
Sure.
Amongst everything, in just a couple of sentences, what do you think makes Hanging With different from the billions of other podcasts out there?
I'm going to rip this line off from the other day, because we have spent...
and let me say this. I know my answer, but I want to hear yours.
I can do pages on what makes us different from other podcasts,
and he can write pages,
pages and pages.
That'll be another show.
Yeah. The number one thing that we do is work with the independent artist community. I like to tell people all the time, when you're the top 1% of the entertainment or arts industries, you have a great phone book, and you pick up the phone and you can be on any show at 11 o'clock at night that's hosted by a guy named Jimmy. Any Jimmy. There's a lot of Jimmys. Mm-hmm. I mean, you could be on... He's got real
Keep going. Just keep going. No. You're doing great. You're doing fine.
You could be on any Jimmy if you're in the top 1% of your craft. If you are a working artist, author, filmmaker, cosplayer, you're out there doing the job. You're getting paid. You're living the dream. But you're not the top 1%. You don't have those phone numbers. You don't have an outlet to make it to the next level. We traveled to writers' conferences for myself as an author. We've traveled to comic conventions and art shows. And these are artists that never, ever, ever get to sit in front of a reporter or on TV or anywhere and do an interview and refine those skills and reach a larger audience. So what makes us different is that we give those people a chance to sit in the chair and have their 15 minutes of fame. When we first started, you had 15 minutes of fame with 3 people who didn't know you. And now, so proud to say that as of Friday, today, you now have your 15 minutes of fame and 8,000 people who don't know you get to see it. and that's a lot of work and it was a lot of energy, but it takes an independent artist, and we have built a show that shares those people. Yeah. I'm going to rob the line from Christian, because the other day when somebody comes on our show and they want to know why we do what we do, how do you do what you do, I articulate that as best I can, but I'm a writer, so it takes like 17 pages. When I asked Christian the other day, why do you've been with us now long enough, why do you guys think, what do we do differently? And one line stood out. So I'm going to let you deliver it before I explain it any further.
Well, I think
deliver it. You asked for the line.
Fine.
Line.
We give voice to the voiceless. When we go to those conventions out there, and when I joined this podcast, this was something that I never even attributed, and I think that's when you hear the words convention and family put together, that it takes on a whole new meaning. You go out to a convention, you go to one of these high-profile conventions, and for the most part, you only have time to go see your celebrity, get an autograph, maybe get a few pictures, see that thing that you saw on the way out, and that's it. And the rest of the story of that convention goes silent. You don't know anything about anybody else or what they're doing or what they have to offer beyond just going up and then leaving. And we give the voice to the voiceless, those people, those artists who are really talented, who are really wonderful, who have a craft, those cosplayers, those artists, musicians, painters, authors. They don't have a voice out there, and this show was a wonderful way for me to see, hey, there are all these talented people out there. And if you ever get a chance, just take a time, if you can, in between, before you go to that photo op, before you get your autograph, go out there to Artist Alley and just walk up and down just a couple times. Go down to the authors and talk to them about their new book that they're putting out there.
Stay to the right lane when you're going. Sage moves fast, and she trips people along the way because she's been retired. I would tell the one thing I would tell any new podcaster or webcaster of any kind is have a strong work ethic.
You have to, like it's a job.
When we first started going to conventions and things, one of the first things I did coming from a newspaper was say to everybody, call up and get us press access, because that's what we're going to do. We're going to cover their event. We got a lot of no's. And finally I sat down with a convention organizer and said, this is a lot. When I finish doing the show, you're going to spend weeks and weeks. This show will be on every day or every other day or however I mix it in. And why don't it? And the reality was bloggers, vloggers, podcasters, people who would come in getting a press credential, walk around, see their favorite celebrities, do things, and then leave and never file a story. Never write an article, never post a video, maybe do a little, Facebook live chat, and that would be it. And he said, so we have a hard time with what's considered internet media. And so we make it our mission when we go places. We did MegaCon Orlando this year from the floor of the convention. We had a floor space in the convention. At the end of the weekend, I had interviewed 74 artists, authors, filmmakers, and creators. 4 days, I did 74 interviews. I couldn't speak at the end of it because they have to see that you're going to do the work. They don't, a lot of people want to come in and say, hey, I'm here and I had a great time and that's my story. And when I left MegaCon, their stories are still running. That was, 3 months ago, everybody? And every week, about two interview episodes from that event are running right now. They'll run all the way up to their Tampa show, and then that'll run all the way until their Orlando show, because we have all of these events in between. So have a strong work ethic. Know that, everybody said, hey, I had a neighbor kid come over to my house. They saw the placards on the side of my car. Shameless plug. Advertise who you are. But a neighbor kid came over and said, I want to be a YouTuber. And I said, why? And they said, well, I'll be really well known, and I think I can talk about, be really popular and everything. And I hear they make lots of money. And I went, who'd you hear that from? And tell them to come to my house, because I don't know because everybody, everybody thinks of Markiplier. Everybody thinks of PewDiePie. these are the guys that have been doing it almost a decade. And they've got they've built a large following, and they do make a really comfortable living. But it's a lot of work, and you put a lot of work into it. And if you don't have that work ethic, I had a friend that wrote their first novel, and she called me 30 days after the novel was out, and she said, so bummed. And I said, why? And she said, I just thought I'd sell more books. And I said, this is your first book. It's been 30 days. And it occurred to me that everyone that writes a book is determined that 2 days after they publish, they're going to be Stephen King. That took 20 years. And has anybody ever? Do we have any Stephen King fans here?
I know of his career. I don't comment.
You know of his career, right? It was many years. You have I had a collection when I was small of the small novellas that he did. Those first stories that he was releasing. They're not wonderful comparatively, but he's Stephen King now. That took years. It doesn't take, hours. And I talked to authors who said the first time they hit publish, they check their royalty statements like every 20 minutes. I'm like, why? Trust me, no one knows you're there.
No.
You didn't make any money.
No, nobody knows.
You do that about 4 times, you're the most depressed person on the planet. You're like, oh my God, I just, like you said, it's
I just
brutal.
published my first Amazon book. Like, I am a new Amazon author, and he is absolutely right. It's true. But you can't get caught up like that.
No,
you just got
to move on. And podcasting is the same way. When you do this, don't go out and say, hey, I'm going to have, 10,000 subscribers by the end of the day. If that works for you, man, tell us how you did it.
There was something illegal involved, and you're being chased by police out the door.
Who did you call? Because we're 3 years. This is our third year, and we're at a little over 8,000 subscribers. I think I'm slated to. I will probably hit 10,000 sometime near January. To me, that's exciting. Because it's one subscriber at a time,
and it really is.
Yes.
You hear that, but it's So our channel is 10 weeks old this week, and I don't have anything to compare it to because I've never done this before. But everyone that looks at our analytics and stuff like that thinks that we're doing decent. We have over 2,000 views, and we're closing in on 2,000 minutes of watch time with 24 videos. So we have 24 videos that have been watched over 2,000 times, total of over 2,000 minutes, which I think is pretty good. I think the average it out is like 800 and something times each video has been watched. And everybody says that it's good, but man, damn, you fight for those subscribers. And when they unsubscribe from your channel, you get sad. I get sad.
Yes.
When they unsubscribe, because I've lost like
it is.
2
You really do. You have to have that. That.
But man, it's a battle.
It is, and you get them one at a time. Every day. Yeah. One day you'll go and you'll look at your numbers, and you got after you get past the what I call the plateau, is somewhere between 100 and 500 subscribers. There's like a little plateau in there, and then you stay there for like ever, and you're determined I'm never going to get another new subscriber because you lose 5 or 6, and then you gain 5 or 6.
I think we were like that. Yeah, under 100.
And it's brutal. And then when you get past that, all of a sudden one day you wake up and you got 500 more subscribers. You're like, yes!
You're like, hell yeah.
And the next day you lost 200 of them because I don't know why they got there in the first place. And you're like, what? Those two, why did they leave? Yeah. It's like somebody leaving your party at your house really early. Like they showed up. Yeah, they showed up at 6 on time, and by 6:30 they left, and you're like, dude, what?
But my party's awesome.
My party's awesome. I know it is.
I'm gonna slide this as being the one of the other things.
My mom stopped watching once. I was like, what? That's crazy.
Do you know, 2 weeks in, my parents didn't even know we had a YouTube channel.
What's YouTube?
As of January of this year, this is my job.
Which is awesome.
Yeah, there are 4 of us that do the show, and the goal is obviously for all of us to work full-time as the show. I was the first one as the creator and host because I said, I can do that now. And this is my full-time job. Just don't tell them yet because I had to call my mom and tell her, what are you doing now for a living?
I know.
I'm a YouTuber. I'm a podcaster. And she was like,
well, you're a little too old for that.
Dude, stop tapping my phone, man. That's what I went through. I was like, wait a minute.
Aren't you grown up yet? Don't you have a real job? Work as a doctor, lawyer.
And then the coolest thing happened. She went to the doctor's office, and she had her blood drawn. And the young lady that was in there drawing her blood happens to be an indie musician. and they struck up a conversation, and she said, my manager is working to get me an interview on this cool, internet show. And my mom was like, yeah, what is that? And she goes, it's this thing, have you ever heard of the Hangin with Web show? And my mom went, well, yeah, I have. What do you know about them? And she went on for like 5 minutes. It's this cool show, and they give indie artists a chance, and you get to do all this stuff. And she goes, well, what do you know about him? My mom goes, I know that's my son. It was the first time, I think, since I said I was a YouTuber that my mom was like, yes, that's my son. Up until then, she was like, I don't know that man.
I'm going to get you guys involved in a little bit, but let me get to the last point of what needs to be as far as podcasts or anything. And I think this is one of the most important things that people forget. You need to be entertaining, and that seems to be a very weird and odd thing to say. But one of the things that I present to people, especially because you have to be ear candy in this field because nobody can see you. You have to be ear candy. Why do you listen to Howard Stern? His movie Private Parts. The best answer, I want to hear what he has to say next, was always why do you hate him? I want to hear what he has to say next. Why do you love him? I want to hear what he has to say next. And that's something you have to draw into people to listen to you. If you're boring, if you're monotoned and such like that. And I think one of the things that works well with, especially with us, and with everything, and including podcasts, is chemistry. Just between the others. If everybody agrees what's going on, I love Star Wars, it's going to be a boring podcast. Everybody, well, you love Star Wars. What do you have an issue with it? Things like that. And here, and especially with my friend, I do another podcast for Doctor Who. Gallifrey Stands is a friend of mine who is actually in the UK, Dr. Squee. And we have, when I tell people, I say, you have two different takes. You have a US and a UK representative talking about the same show and their love for it and why they don't like what's going on. So if you don't have that chemistry, if you don't have that entertainment, and you don't have that mixture that's going to absorb people, same thing with Markiplier. I mean, it's a guy playing a video game. Who wants to watch that? It's not because we watch Markiplier because he's playing video games. We watch him because he plays a horror game and he screams his head off, and we are entertained by it. So if you can find that niche that keeps people listening over and over again.
If you can't, we can give you Christian's phone number. Because sometimes that's our entertainment. That entertains me.
But does anybody have any questions or anything you want to bring up? Please.
Now, wait, there is a little audience participation because we are webcasting. So please step up to the mic.
That's connected
it's
to
kind of light. It's all connected, so that way we can hear the question.
We can get your name there, sir.
Yes.
Ron.
Hey, Ron.
Hi, Ron.
Hi. If, say, an artist, like a comic book artist, wanted to be interviewed by you guys, how would he go about that?
Yeah, okay. That's all you know.
How did they do that? They sit in the dome. No,
you always look at Sage for everything. So.
Yeah, or Dina. They tell me what to do. Isn't that the way it is in your house?
Stuff I give them. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, you got to. You got to.
Yes.
Put it on the record.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, I'm going to give you this.
If he doesn't,
you have all those? All right,
yeah,
fantastic. I'm also going to tell you, Sage on the end over here is our artistic relations coordinator. Those are 3 words that she strung together on her own. I think they mean.
Garrett will be sleeping in the car tonight.
Yes. No, please get a hold of Sage. For everybody out there on the web, if you are an artist, filmmaker,
yes,
author, musician, and you want to be on the show, you said, generally speaking, here at the convention, just find Sage and she'll put you in the chair.
Yep.
Gently. If you are on the internet and you want to get on the show, send an email to sage@hanginwithshow.com.
Yes.
There you go.
That's SAGE@hanginwithshow.com.
No G in the hanging.
Right.
The last G.
Yes.
Everybody's thrown off by that.
Yeah.
Does anybody else have anything you want to bring up? Please, this is audience participation. Where are the windbags?
Everybody's got smiles.
We can talk, but we want to hear you guys talk out there. Did you have anything? What's your name?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Sure. Why not?
Man in a hat.
I love the T-shirt, by the way.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Yes.
Just got it at Dragon Con.
If you can't see, it's Big Trouble in Little
Awesome
China.
weekend,
I
by
love
the
it.
way. Awesome weekend up there.
How do you feel? I mean, how difficult is it to grow a channel?
What's your name, by the way?
Joe.
Joe? Okay, go ahead, Joe.
All right, Joe is asking how I feel about how difficult it is to grow a channel. Okay.
That's a good question.
You put it underground, fertilize
exhausted.
it, add water.
In a word, exhausted. It's exhausting. It's a never-ending battle. As Charles and I both express, it is one subscriber at a time, one view at a time, one share at a time. If you follow our show, you'll see that every day between 9 and 10 a.m., Sage starts sharing today's episode on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, like five other places I can't pronounce, and 2 Russian places. I have no idea. And I actually, believe it or not, thank you. I'll give myself a plug. That's kind of fun. I actually do a seminar course on what I call working your digital street corner. Because that's what you're doing, baby.
Brown chicken, brown cow.
And that's it. And that's what it's all about. You're out there as often as you can be within the limits of your day job or your lifestyle or what you're doing. And you're working. You're letting people know what you do. One of the biggest problems I had when I started out, as a writer behind the desk, I would type up a story. The only thing that anybody knew about me was my byline. My name was on the story. As an independent creator, I find that I have to tell everyone who I am over and over and over again. And it is, it can be exhausting. I can tell you that it is also incredibly rewarding. We started about a year into our journey on the show. I think we were at around 1,100 subscribers on the channel. I work in tirelessly every day, and it was exhaustive. And I went to actually I came here to this convention, and we walked in and said hi to Jake and Dave, who welcomed us in, and people who had followed the show. More importantly, and I will have to admit this on the air, people who followed my son, Cosplay Michael, came up and said, "Hey, you guys are the Hangin with Web show. That's Cosplay Michael." And I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. And because you don't know who those 1,100 people are, you just know that they're watching the show, and you can see their names, or their some of them still use what were they called back at the gamer tags or internet tags, right? Yeah. Some of them don't use their names; they use those, So you don't know who these people are when you walk into a convention and somebody's like, "Hey, you guys are that show," and I'm just like, "All right, that was cool." And it happens like 3 more times, and you're like, really, that's cool. The coolest experiences are going to conventions you've never been to before, going to Dragon Con for the first time, and having people go, "Hey, you guys are that Hangin with Bo show." Why, yes, I am. And it's a wonderful feeling. So it is exhausting. It's hard. I tell everybody to be very careful how you do it. There are many, many ways. There are many services. There are SEO services for making your channel more friendly to internet searches, etc. Be careful when you're looking at those services to make sure you're getting a legitimate service. There are 1,000 people who will sell you, $7, you can have 1,000 subscribers. You will have them for approximately 8 seconds.
Yeah, you don't want to do that.
And then Google will take them away from you, as they should. Because most of them are robots, and the ones that aren't robots live in places that don't speak English. So you're doing a show and you're talking about your favorite thing, and you're like, "Hey, I was watching something on BBC the other day," and some guy in India is going, "I don't know what he said, but I'm still watching." So you want to be very careful when you're shopping, and we as a community, we talk about this all the time. Don't spend money on things that you don't have to spend money on. And work with every friend you have. Don't be afraid to ask for help. People want to help you.
I'm going to end the panel with the Letterman joke that I usually tell in the other panels. And guy sends me...
Is that 5 or 10?
Yes.
You have 2 hands. You have 2... But they're... What is she...
All right, you two.
The radio can't even see what she's doing, but she's over there like this, and I'm, okay, I believe you.
So guy comes up to me and goes, "Are you Christian Basel?" And I said, "Yes, I am." And then he goes, "Sir, I've been following you for the past 8 months." And I go, "Really? What do you think of the show?" And he goes, "What show?" It got bigger last somewhere else. Anyways, thank you all. Appreciate it.
Okay, so before we go, before we wrap up the panel or the show over here, we're going to do some shameless working of our digital street corner. So, first of all, you can get a hold of Christian at christiantellsjokes.com. No, that's wrong. No, we are at Facebook. We are on Facebook at facebook.com/hangingwithwebshow. And we are on Twitter at @hangingwithshow. Instagram at Hangin with Web Show. Yes, I'm doing this. I'm not looking.
I know.
It's a text.
You could actually just give them a flyer.
I'm gonna do that. They're on the radio too, you know. You can also find us at hangingwithshow.com.
Oh, that's true. That's right.
Where you can see our daily webisodes. They run on YouTube, but they are on our website every single morning between 9 and 10 a.m. You can watch the video interviews that we do. You can find us on Krypton Radio every Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. For 1 hour, we do this format show. We just kind of chat. You can actually Skype in and chat with us while we're doing the show. It's kind of fun, and I promise we don't make fun of you nearly as much as we make fun of Christian.
And for that matter, thanks for coming there, folks.
Right.
Thank you. Give yourselves a round of applause.
Thank you guys so much for coming in. If there are any other questions, please don't hesitate to stop by.
We're here all weekend.
We're going to be here all weekend doing what we do.
Yes.
And so we're going to wrap up the show. So
do the
to wrap up the
tagline.
show, first of all, I need to thank some people because you guys were asking how we do this and how you grow. This is how we do it. Partners and friends. We have to thank our partners and friends at Famous Faces and Funnies. That was our first official sponsor of the show. They have done awesome things. They are out there in the convention hall. So stop by Famous Faces and Funnies ahead of Rick Shea and buy something from him. Because if you buy something from him, then he can buy something from me. See how this works?
Then you can tell them you bought something
It all
from
works
him.
out. We also want to thank our great friends at Embellish FX in Orlando, Florida. Embellish FX is a great cosplay and makeup store. And doesn't matter what you're looking for. If you're looking for shoes, wigs, cosplay items, go to Embellish FX in Orlando. Pound the Grape in Belmar, Florida. Awesome venue. We do some interviews there, and it's really fun. So you can come on down and see us do an interview with somebody and have a glass of wine. And I get to be a better interviewer the more wine you drink. That's the way it works. We also want to thank our very first official partner, Something Unique Magazine out of St. Louis, Missouri. SomethingUniqueMag.com. They do a hard copy magazine. They also do a digital magazine. And when I had no subscribers and no Facebook page and nothing, they actually sponsored the show and helped us go places so that we could do what we do. We want to thank Off the Chain Radio with Yvonne Mason over at Block Talk Radio. Who did I forget?
Space Coast Comics. Great minds think alike.
I didn't forget them. Christian was mentioning them. As far as you know, I'm telling the truth. Yes. Yes, right. We're Space Coast Comics. That's why we're here. Dave and Jake at Space Coast Comic Con for letting us come in here. And we've had a lot of fun talking to y'all. And if you guys want to talk more, come on over to the area out front, right next to the Florida Con Artist, and say hi. And you can come over. You can sit down. We've got a couple couches there, so you can just hang out and watch us do interviews.
You ready for the...
People do that.
You ready for the tagline?
I can do it.
Go ahead,
ready?
sir.
Are you ready? We're right
Yes, sir.
here. All right. So remember, everybody, log on, tune in, and see who we're hanging with next.
This won't last forever. It's reaching out at night. We're hands laid now. It's colder. Working hard to mend that heart from life. You were laid up on the table. Cut open and remove that heart. Unstable life. Replace it with gears and cables. You're powered up, switched on, shut off. Unravel this time is mine. To tell you what I please, this life is fire. It traps you to your knees. This pain is mine. Me of a time passed by the sea. This broken heart was meant to be now. Rain sounds so much better when you're with me late at night. Where hands laid now is warmer. I'm working hard to keep that love alive. I was laid up on the table, cut open and remove that heart. I'm cabled, I replace it with gears. I'm stable, I'm powered up, switched on, shut off. Unravel this time is mine. To tell you what I please, this life is fire. It traps you to your knees. This pain is mine. fire, you see. This broken heart was meant to be, to let your love run free, to find out warm embrace you need now. This time to do what you need. This life is fire, it drops you to your knees. This reminds me of a time passed by, you see. This broken heart was meant to be, to let that love run free. Now